Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Price Check Podcast here on the In the Zone Network, where we go city to city, state to state, worldwide, taking ourselves a trip down I-55 South here from St. Louis to Cape Girardeau. For those of y'all who follow the show and know me well enough, you know the Southeast Missouri State is my alma mater. Today we have a very special guest from Southeast Missouri State, head men's basketball coach Brad Korn. Of course, led the team to the NCAA Tournament last year. Over close to 17 years of involvement as a coach and staffer here across a number of different college programs. So, of course, want to give you a nice warm welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. So, just kind of jump into it here. For those of y'all who don't know, Coach Korn here was introduced as men's basketball coach March 23rd, 2020. And of course, thinking about the dates here, right in the heart of the global pandemic that started here thanks to COVID-19. Before I asked what drew you to SEMO, what was it like being hired in the heart of a pandemic?
It's been interesting just to kind of navigate this whole thing. You're talking COVID, you're talking portal, you're talking NIL. So it's like, man, what is around the corner? What's coming next that I don't know about? And a whole lot of things that you really don't have a game plan for, or even something that you can rely on your mentors. I come from Chris Lowry, Paul Luss, Bruce Weber, Matt Painter. I come from that tree, and none of those guys had ever experienced anything like that either. So we were all figuring it out together as we navigated it. And then throw on top of that being a first-time head coach, and then throw on top of that, we didn't get to really have a full roster, anytime there's a coaching change and everything else like that. So we really didn't even get to meet the guys until September, quite honestly, of that following year after that March. And then you're trying to recruit and fill the roster through Zoom and things like this. You're talking about, I probably should have started writing a book about what it was and the experiences. Because again, every day was just a brand new day of just trying to figure it out. Again, we were all trying to figure out what that life looked like at that time. So I say all that to say that I do think that it was a blessing in disguise, because I think a lot of times when you get jobs, you're hitting the ground running. You're off on the road, you're recruiting, you're moving your family, you're just running just nonstop. And so I think that the silver lining, the blessing and the curse was that we had to stay here. We had to lay the foundation of the program and what we were going to do and how we were going to do it with the people that we were going to do it with. And so, again, I try to see the positives in all things. And I think that actually, quite honestly, was one of the benefits of the pandemic, of being a first-time head coach and not being able to go out and to run around and other things slip through the cracks. We were really able to build that foundation.
For sure. Of course, you've mentioned the other coaching staffs that you've been on: Bruce Weber, Matt Painter, Chris Lowry. What, if anything, did you want to take away from those coaches and kind of impart on your team and your program yourself? And I guess in what ways did you want to differentiate yourself from those coaches?
Yeah, being with Chris Lowry, who's now an assistant at Northwestern, he gave me my start in the business. We were rolling. We had a lot of success at SIU where I played. And he was always, and Coach Weber too, just the preparation or the defensive mindedness of our programs and the toughness that we played with. That's something that is within our program to this day. And that's something I knew we had to have. And I saw that be successful, and I saw that equate to winning. Myself as a player, I was more of an offensive skill type of a guy. And so just being able to add a little bit more of a twist on the offensive side and getting out in transition and forcing tempo was still trying to keep the toughness. And you look at any team that does well, whether that's college or NBA, the champion is normally top 5 in both categories. So I don't think you can just be so one-sided. You have to be both. You look at the Golden State Warriors. When they were winning, everybody gets caught up in their offense, and rightfully so, but they were also one of the top 5 defenses in the NBA when they were winning their championships. You look at teams like Villanova, Gonzaga. Those teams are top 5 offensively and defensively, or close to it. And so it's just to be able to have that balance. But again, outside of philosophy, because there's 1,000 different ways that you can play. There's 1,000 different philosophies and terminologies and all those types of things. But really what I took from those guys is also how they treated their players in the program, the honesty in which they did it, the transparency in which they did it, I think people can appreciate that, and then it cuts through a lot of nonsense. You get right down to the heart of what it is, and that's the people and that's the basketball. And so that's really from a program standpoint and a personal standpoint, something I really take from Coach Weber.
So I guess with that transition, obviously, a lot of changes that you had to navigate there to start. What has been, I guess, the biggest or most pleasant surprise for you in taking over the job there at Southeast?
We go to the NCAA tournament last year, which hadn't been done in 23 years. You set out a long time ago, you do your press conferences and you say all these things, all these speaking things about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But to see that happen in 3 years, it was kind of like, whoa, that was a little bit faster than I thought. 4 games in 4 days. We didn't have the greatest of years as far as, in the month of December, we lost 8 straight games. We lost 2 games before the conference tournament. So I think the main gratification that you take from that is you stay true to who you are. You believe in the people around you. You stick with it. You don't deviate too much. You don't become brand new when things don't work. You stay committed to what you believe. And as long as you have a strong faith and a strong belief in who you are and what you've experienced and the way that you go about it, again, you continue to believe that that's going to pay off. And it paid off for us last year. And I think it'll continue to pay off as we continue to try to move the program forward, because winning is just because you've done something once. Every season is different. Every year is different. Every team is different. It doesn't mean you're going to do it again. But as long as you can stay committed to your core values and what you believe, I think in the long run, it'll pay off.
And of course, some turbulent times, of course, navigating up to the tournament. Was there any particular moment or message that stands out here, as you guys were getting ready for the conference tournament last year that you think kind of helped catapult you guys to that conference championship?
You know what? I think we were a couple of games away from being a higher seed in the conference tournament, so we ended up having to play 4 games in 4 days. I actually, in a strange way, think that helped us. I don't think that if we win the last 2 games that we win the conference tournament, to be quite honest with you. So I think that our guys, really that adversity kind of drive every team. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Kentucky, SEMO, Morehead State, or SIU. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to face some sort of adversity. You're going to go through some things as a group, as a team. And so I think those last 2 losses at the end of the year really kind of just woke us up from a standpoint of like, look, we got to let go of everything else and just play basketball and reach our potential. And so I think those 2 losses really kind of got us back calibrated. I think we didn't start out well the first game of the tournament against Lindenwood. We kind of got off to a slow start. And in that first media timeout, maybe guys that aren't as vocal stepped up and were a little bit more vocal. And it started to be a little bit more player-driven as opposed to coach-driven. And when you have a player-led program or a player-led game, that's when you're going to have the most growth and the ability to reach your potential. And I think we got to that point, albeit too late. It wasn't too late. And what I mean by that is we didn't have to lose in the conference tournament in order to have regret. We were able to kind of in those couple moments that last week of the season, because I told the guys, like, we got to go play 4 games in 4 days. And if you don't pack for 4 days, don't get on the bus with us when we leave to go to Evansville. So I think our guys took that and ran with it. And like I said, guys became a little bit more vocal, and it became a little bit more player-driven in that moment in order to reach that championship level potential that I thought we really had all season long, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that actually is going to lead me to my next question here. Having been a part of some of the programs you've been a part of and other teams that have made tournament appearances, did you have a feeling going into last season that an NCAA tournament berth was possible, or is it, a particular point of the season where that became a little bit more of a reality?
I really liked our guys in the offseason. We brought in, I think it was 7 or 8 new guys in that year because we had a lot of transfers. We had 2 assistant coaches leave. So there was a lot of turnover, but I did like the potential and the talent of our roster early in the season. And now, again, navigating that and personalities and everything else that goes with that, we hit our head. But I did appreciate that our guys never really lost who we were as a core group, even through all that adversity. So, again, I think that made us stronger in the end. I think everybody, even now, to this day and going forward in future years, is always going to think they have a chance to win the conference tournament without Murray, without Belmont. But I still think that we made progress. Morehead went to the NCAA tournament with Belmont and Murray in this league. We finished 4th with Belmont, Murray, and EKU in this league before. So, again, it wasn't just like, oh, all of a sudden you guys get to win now because everyone's gone. We were still gearing towards competing against that, and we showed progress even with those people in the league. So I guess that's kind of – I don't know if I really answered your question, but I think everyone feels that they have enough talent and potential to win it. I don't know if there was that certain moment. There was a certain game. We were struggling a little bit, but the way that we played at Missouri I thought that was like, okay, if we can bottle this up, and that was a early mid-December game. I was like, okay, I see the potential of what we could be because we came to play. We didn't get thrown around or punked, and we weren't playing our best either. And so then we played a really good game that game. So that was kind of the first time of like, okay, see a little bit of what we can ultimately become. And again, I don't know. Ironically, I don't think we tapped into that again until the very end of the season, but thankfully we did.
There you go. There you go. And so, of course, you mentioned the added challenges of NIL transfer portal. Coming out of the pandemic now, we're a couple of years removed from it being right in the thick of things. How have those two factors continued to impact not only the program that you're trying to build for today, but the guys that you're trying to bring in for tomorrow and future years?
Yeah, so every year we've lost our leading scorer, albeit graduation or portal. So I'm not the guy that's going to sit up here and get on my soapbox. And it is what it is. And unfortunately, the coaches and the players aren't the ones that make the decisions on that type of stuff. It's other people and committees and whatever. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. We ain't got enough time in the day for that. So right. I'm not a big proponent. I'm not a big believer in it. I do think there are things as a healthy transfer. I think sometimes things just don't work. And I think that's all well and fine and good. So it's a challenge when you lose your best or your leading scorer every single year, even if they have to sit out or if they're a grad transfer or if they just leave you. But that's the reality. And so putting that together each and every year, of course, is a challenge. But again, I also think with winning, it also gives you the opportunity to find something in the portal. We're all kind of just trading baseball cards at this point, and that's the unfortunate side of it. What you used to do, I look at myself as a player, we all rely on our experiences, and I decided to redshirt at SIU. So in essence, I transferred to my own school that I went to out of high school. And so then I was able to have personal growth. I was able to have a great senior season. We were able to go 17-1, be ranked in the top 25, go to an NCAA tournament. So to me, I cling to those experiences more so than when things don't go your way, you just up and leave. But I also believe that there's healthy transfers when things just aren't working, or if a guy just came and is not quite good enough, it needs to go somewhere else to have success and play because everybody wants to play. And so, again, I think it can be both ways. As bad as it can hurt you, it can also help you. And you see a lot of guys get players out of the portal that makes them good and within a year. And unfortunately, we've created that as adults. So I try not to blame the kids too much in doing that. So that's kind of my rant on the portal, I guess, if you will.
So soapbox over, huh?
yeah, that's it. I'll just keep on going and never shut up. So I'll just leave it at that.
Gotcha. So one thing, of course, that you have been able to establish so far there in the 3 years that you've been at Southeast, team that's been able to improve their record every season. Now, obviously, this season, a little bit slower start. Did get a win yesterday over Missouri Baptist, so congrats on that one. What do you think is going to be the biggest factor in being able to get you guys kind of back, first and foremost, probably the 500, but then back into a space where you can kind of push for not only another conference, potential conference championship, but potentially another NCAA tournament berth?
Yeah, we just have to become, again, we brought 9 guys back from last year's team, but it's 1 through 5 were gone. Yeah. And so that's you're talking, 6 through 15, if you will, now stepping up into new roles. And we've dealt with a little bit of injury, which everyone I think does, but our injuries have come from our older experienced guys, Dylan Branson, Kobe Clark. Those guys are older. Dylan Branson, this will be his 4th year in our program. Kobe would be a senior. And so when any time at our level you lose seniors like that have been in your program, that hurts you. And I think that's been a little bit playing a tough non-conference schedule that we have. I think that plays into it. So again, now just new guys developing into new roles. You can practice all that stuff as much as you want, but there's nothing like game experience. And so even the guys that we brought into the program didn't have a lot of game experience. David Idata, Gavin Elkamil, Rob Martin, Braxton Stacker, those guys didn't have TJ Beal, didn't have a ton of Division I experience. I think all of those guys combined might have played about 8 games total. So with those injuries and with other guys developing into new roles, it's just going to take a little bit of time for us to get settled into who we are offensively and defensively. And so, again, I think we're going to continue to be a work in progress. Like I said, we lost 8 straight games last year in the month of December a year ago. We lost the last 2 games of the season heading into the conference tournament a year ago. So, again, you're never a finished product. You're never going to just wake up and snap your fingers and be good. So this team is different than last year's team. Every game is different. Every opponent is different. And I think as we continue to develop who we are as a group, I think yesterday was a great step, the correct step in the right direction as to what we're going to look like moving forward. And getting Dylan back here in a couple of weeks will help all of that, just from an experience, another coach on the floor, so to speak. So I think all those things, we'll continue to be what we are, continue to be what we're going to become. And what I think that is going to be a good, tough, hard out come March.
There we go. And so kind of last question here as it pertains to the actual on-court basketball. Do you feel like after last season's results, making the tournament, kind of the obviously the joy that comes not only within the program on the player side of things, but even just at the university and community level, do you feel there's any added pressure this year, especially with, how many guys you were able to bring back?
I think we faced a little, I don't know if, I think pressure, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but it was an expectation now that you think you have to live up to every single time. And I think guys like Korn Smart, Josh Early, our seniors that came back, I think they were, especially without Dylan and Kobe out there for a majority of the time to this point, we're trying to think that you have to play so perfect in order to keep reaching and trying to catch that ghost that's not there. That ghost isn't there for this year's team. That was last year's team. And that chapter and that book is closed. We have to move on to this year. And so I think we were chasing that a little bit early, coaches included. I think, you think everything's got to go perfect. We won last year, so we got to win this year. We got to do that. And then you play so tight and tense, and then things just don't flow the way that they need to. And just so trying to get to that understanding that every year is different. You're not guaranteed a championship just because you won a championship a year ago. It doesn't, that ghost is no longer there. That is done and over with. And so I think that as we continue to move forward in this year, settling down and settling into that, we can be what this team can be. And that's I don't know what that is. You don't know what that potential is for that team. I think we all have a dream and a vision for what that can be, but that's the part that we have to continually chase and practice. And our guys have done a great job. We really haven't had bad practices. That's why, even though the scores are lopsided, we've played well. We've just struggled to score the ball. And so I think we've got some things figured out a little bit. We've tweaked some things here and there that's going to help us move forward. So again, as long as our guys are keeping the right attitude, as long as they're approaching practice the right way, which they've done, I feel confident we can continue to reach the potential of what we are and what this team can be. And that is different than a year ago. But obviously that is still the ultimate goal and the ultimate dream is to get back to that NCAA tournament and to win a championship. That's why we're here. So pressure, yes, but I don't think anybody puts pressure. Coaches don't put pressure on themselves. Players don't put pressure on themselves anymore or anything more from the outside. No one wants to be better than the players that practice every day. Nobody as a coach wants to be better than the coaches that put in the time and the effort every single day. So I don't know if it was necessarily pressure because that's how we just live and operate on a day to day. It's more of trying to chase an expectation that may not be there. And we have to chase a standard of what we can be as a group before we chase an expectation of what happened in years past.
There we go. Well, of course, nothing but continued wishing for luck for you here and continued success here, not only this year, but in future years. Now, before we let you go, got to do our fast break here, 5 quick, kind of easy answer questions to get you out the door and on to some different things here. But we'll just jump right into it. First question being favorite basketball player of all time.
There's only one GOAT, Michael Jordan.
I figured, being a guy from Illinois, that might be the way you were leaning. So
yeah,
maybe hoping to see if I can get a LeBron out of you. I'm not a LeBron guy, just so you know that.
I'm mad, total respect for LeBron, but I can't go against Mike.
Can't go against Mike. There we go. Okay, so we have our favorite basketball player, our favorite coach of all time.
Ooh, I don't know if I've ever been asked that one before. Favorite coach of all time. You know what? I'm gonna say my high school coaches, Scott Miller and Al Grewal. Those guys, just great guys, taught me a lot. If it wasn't for Al Grewal, I don't know if I'd be here. What the assistant coach, which you don't hear guys talk about assistant high school coaches very much, but I had one high school coach and one college coach for the most part, so that's pretty unique. And so both those guys, my high school and my college coaches, for sure.
There you go. All right. Next up, favorite pregame song.
Gratitude, Brandon Lake.
Okay, good choice. Favorite basketball movie.
Favorite basketball movie. I don't even know if I can think of. I mean, I can think of one, but they're not like my favorite basketball movies. But I don't know. You got me.
I was gonna say, look, the easy answer for you with the GOAT being Mike was probably Space Jam, but I don't know. That might have been a little bit before your age, I guess, lower age range than what you may have been at the time that it came out, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a basketball. I mean, the one that comes to mind, but it's not my favorite, is Loving Basketball. But
right, it's still a great choice.
We'll go with that one.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. All right, and then so last one here. Now being a Cape Girardeau resident, favorite Cape Girardeau food establishment.
Oh, I tell you what, as you know, there's a lot of them.
Too many choices, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. Pilot House has got to be up there. Burritoville's got to be in there. Mary Jane's is there. Broussard's. We can go down the line. I know I'm forgetting probably a handful at 36 if you want to go some fine dining.
Yeah.
Celebrations. I mean, we can just keep on going. There's a lot of good places to eat in Cape.
Yeah, for sure. Burritoville is the one that's closest to my heart. Of course, look, all of the above are great answers, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, again, Coach Korn, we definitely appreciate you taking the time out to do this. Much gratitude, and of course, wishing you guys nothing but the best the remainder of the season this year.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. And for everybody joining us again, this has been Price Check Podcast. Thank you again to Coach Brad Korn, head coach of the SEMO men's basketball program. And as always, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Josh Price. Check it out.